It's so great that you've joined us on the Clank Howard Show, and I hope that I give you information that you're able to put to work in your wallet so that you can save more and spend less, and don't let anybody ever rip you off. On the web, we serve you at Clark.com, Clark spelled Clark.com. You got a question for me? Clark.com/ask. Coming up in just 20 minutes in today's Clarkrageous Moment, yet another thing about student loans that's ugly. One of the nation's giant monster mega banks ripping off its own borrowers on their student loans. And a half hour from now, this is going to be a fall of deal after deal after deal for you eating out. I'm going to tell you why that's happening and how to get the best deals. And that's coming up in just 30 minutes. I want to talk right now about a shift in the housing market in the United States that directly affects you. People are in homes where overwhelmingly they have mortgage payments that are so favorable that it means that Americans' historical pattern of moving frequently from house to house, unless you have to relocate somewhere else in the country, that pattern is broken. The number of transactions of people picking up and moving in the same metro area declining, and people now are much more likely to stay in a house that they're in and add on to it or renovate, redo the bathrooms, the kitchen, whatever, rather than pick up and move. I've had this conversation with many people who are on the bubble trying to decide if it's best to sell your home and move somewhere else or to renovate. And what I want you to think about with renovations is that it is an automatic that they take longer than you expect and cost much more than you anticipate. We have friends who did a renovation of their kitchen that the contractor, when they signed, said it would be 3 weeks. 4 months later, it's still not done. Now, there is a problem right now in the home renovation business, and that is there's an extreme shortage of workers to do the work. So contractors may, with the best of intentions, expect to get a job done on a timeline and can't get it done because the subs aren't available, don't show, the workers don't show, there aren't enough workers to show. And this is something you have to consider as part of your whole plan. And even though our friend's thing of 3 weeks becoming 4 months is extreme, I don't think it's at all unusual to expect a renovation to take twice the original estimate in time and cost at least 25% more than the original estimate. So as you're trying to make a decision whether you're going to stay and renovate or sell and find something that's more to your liking, I would say use those loose numbers I'm giving you that expect to pay 25% more and expect twice the disruption in your life. Many times you'll even have to move out for a period of time for the renovation that's taking place. My wife and I, many years ago, did a renovation on a home, and the result was beautiful, magnificent. And even though we enjoyed so much what we did, we made the decision after that we are going to move before we ever do another major renovation. Minor ones, okay. Everybody's definition of minor is different. But I want you to know that not everything in life is truly about dollars and cents. Sometimes it's just about what works best in your own life. And for us, doing a renovation definitely does not work best. If you are going to do a renovation, though, you need to talk to multiple contractors, and the scope of work that they're going to do needs to be thoroughly thought through. You know, just some stuff on the back of an envelope will lead to so much heartache and so much extra expense you need to have a thorough understanding about what's going to happen, what materials are going to be used, and without specificity, trouble follows. Because once you hire a contractor and work begins, you're married to that person and their firm. And it's really messy if things don't go well and you feel like you need a divorce from that contractor. So do it right up front. Follow me at facebook.com/Clark Howard. Our web address, clark.com. When you got a question for me, go clark.com/ask. Jonathan's with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, Jonathan.
Hey, Clark. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure. Jonathan, you're a Floridian. Can you believe that deal that nobody knew when they were shown a map where Jacksonville was?
That's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe, isn't it? But apparently it was true. So you're deciding to join me as a landlord. Welcome to the Landlord Club.
Well, thank you. I'm almost there. We're a couple days away. My fiance and I were in a position to buy a second house, and we are looking to rent our first house out. And we're not sure if the deposit money and all the rent that is paid to us should be put into a trust, a savings, a checking, or if there's possibly a third or a fourth alternative to where we can put the money to keep our assets separated from rental property to our normal income.
Right. So that doesn't, where you deposit the money from the rent doesn't change anything about liability or anything like that. What people do is they will do what's known as a single issue form of incorporation called an LLC, limited liability company. Some states call it a limited liability corporation. And a lot of real estate investors worried about liability will put a rental property into an LLC. And if they buy another rental property, they set up a second LLC. So that if there's ever an issue at the property, the only assets that anyone can ever go after is the LLC that owns that property and not you or your fiance personally.
Okay.
Now that becomes an issue only at the point in your lives where you and your fiance have a lot of assets. Or either of you in a position yet where you own a lot of stuff free and clear. I'm talking like real money that somebody would want to come eat you up.
The only thing that we have is I'm a big saver. I'm actually contributing 19% to work-sponsored 401k.
So it's in a retirement plan. That money is not normally subject to and cannot normally be seized in the event somebody were trying to eat you up with a lawsuit. And
then she has about $20,000 in a profit-sharing account through work, which is, I believe, used as retirement. And then we own one vehicle outright.
So you're not at a point where I refer to it as a success tax, where you need to complicate your life with the rental property by trying to put it into some kind of protected shell. But as you develop more wealth in your lives, that's when you start looking at things like that. And one thing you should do is make sure you have sufficient liability coverage that would deal with an unexpected event at that rental property or even your principal home, your principal residence.
Is that completed through the landlord insurance that I would get through insurance carriers?
Well, landlord insurance provides a certain amount of protection, but as you develop more and more equity in these properties, you should look at buying what's known as an umbrella.
Okay.
And not the kind to protect you from the rain. It's an insurance policy that tends to cost a couple of $100 per year for $1 million in coverage that sits on top of the liability coverage you have with your automobile, your principal residence, or the rental property.
Okay.
And so as you, and that's the other way people do it. They either do the LLC angle that I talked about, or they go the angle of liability coverage. And one is not necessarily automatically better than the other. It's just you want to make sure you've protected yourself in some way. If something bad does happen, that you are protected. And remember, something bad can happen unexpected in any phase of your life. It doesn't necessarily have to be just the rental property, which is why the umbrella is a good thing to consider. David is with us. David, you're thinking of potentially getting involved with a multi-level marketing thing you wanted to run by me. Is that right?
Yes, I do want to talk to you about that.
What's the story?
They have a situation where you can try products from national companies. One of their programs, it's a monthly paid program from different ones, like I can't remember who all is on there.
Okay. I'll tell you what I'm seeing right now is the things supposedly you can get. You can play with an iPhone. You can play with supposedly cash. You can get DVDs. You can get all kinds of game machines, and all with no obligation and no cost in return for you paying a monthly fee of how much money?
There is no monthly fee to them.
Okay. Who's the monthly fee to?
To the different companies you try their products.
Okay. All right.
And then you're supposed to do that for 30 days at least, and then you could cancel it, but you still get credit for trying it out.
All right. So I will tell you that I have no experience with this organization, but if you look on the internet, there are so many people that hate this group. I can't even quantify how many. And the posts are angry, where people feel they really got ripped off.
Okay.
So before you get involved, go do something like put in the name of the group. And if you want to see just the people that hate them, put in the name and then put the word scam next to it. Or put in the name and put ripoff, and you will see one after another from people being very specific how they feel they got cheated.
Okay.
And so when I see that many, and again, this is a group that has never crossed in front of me before as being, this is one that's a complete scam or anything like that. All I can tell you is that people who have experienced it are fiercely angry.
Okay.
So go read what they have to say. And would you be interested in getting involved in this as a salesperson or a customer?
It was supposedly as a salesperson. They're supposed to advertise this to email contacts to try and get them to try, because then you would get referrals from that. And
exactly.
Make more money.
Typical kind of multi-level kind of thing. So go read the reviews and see if you actually want to make people on your email list mad at you or not.
Okay.
Okay?
That sounds like a good idea.
All right. Have a great day. It's funny, the number of these sales organizations with the multi-level, there's so many of them out there. It's very, very rare that one of them is one that people just adore. Usually there's a split kind of thing, but this time it's just hate from people who have experience. We do the Clark Rageous Moment to let you know about ways you might get taken advantage of, might get ripped off. One area where people get ripped off again and again and again is in something known as private student loans. Never, ever borrow under a private student loan unless you have fully exhausted your ability to borrow under the federal student loan program. Here's a perfect example of why that advice is so very important.
Scams, rip-offs, outrages. It's a Clark Rageous Moment.
The latest private student loan lender to get in trouble is the giant monster mega bank, Wells Fargo, that's paying a multi-million-dollar fine and now having to pay restitution to student borrowers or people many times who are done with school but have private loans they have to pay, where Wells Fargo was hitting people with late fees and other expenses that were illegal, according to the action of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the agreement Wells Fargo ended up in. This is a quote from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Wells Fargo hit borrowers with illegal fees and deprived others of critical information needed to effectively manage their student loan accounts. And this is the sentence I'm about to read you from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Nothing like this should ever even have to be said. Consumers should be able to rely on their servicer, in this case Wells Fargo, to process and credit payments correctly and to provide accurate and timely information. Wells Fargo was playing a game of secrecy with borrowers if they had more than one loan, refusing to disclose what they owed on each loan and what payments they had to make, just so that Wells Fargo could apparently generate late fees and additional interest. The billing statements purposely kept the information unclear. It is absolutely, completely, and totally abysmal that Wells Fargo would behave this way. According to USA Today, Wells Fargo issued a statement that it's overhauled the problematic processes cited in the order, and while disagreeing with the charges, that it will address the Bureau's concerns to put the matter behind it. Can you imagine being in PR for a big corporation and having to say junk like that? Just do the right thing. Do the right thing. There's plenty of money to be made running a good business and treating people right.
Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans proudly supports this podcast. Rocket Mortgage brings the mortgage approval process into the 21st century. It's fast, powerful, and completely online. You see, Rocket Mortgage has taken all the complicated, time-consuming parts of applying for a mortgage out of the equation. Hate searching through stacks of old files and paperwork? Well, with Rocket Mortgage, you can easily share your bank statements and pay stubs at the touch of a button. It helps you get approved in minutes for a custom mortgage solution that's been tailored to your unique financial situation. Even better, with Rocket Mortgage, you can do all of this on your phone or tablet. It's a quick online process that you can manage from the convenience of your couch. So if you're looking to refinance your mortgage or buy a home, check out Rocket Mortgage today at quickenloans.com/save. That's quickenloans.com/SAVE. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
I'm glad you're with us on the Clank Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to keep more of what you make. You can follow me at facebook.com/Clank Howard, on the web, clark.com. When you have a question for me, clark.com/ask. By the way, if you have a question and you want it answered, do you know that we provide free off-the-air advice 9 hours every weekday? We do that from 10 in the morning Eastern to 7 in the evening Eastern time. And you get to talk to a member of our team for nothing. Full details about how to call in, get that advice at clark.com. We got to talk. This is going to be a bargain next several months when you go to eat out. Restaurateurs, like that word, people who own restaurants at all price points, are whining about a decline in customer visits and a decline in average ticket from people who come in. Let's first deal with the quick serve and fast food segments. Those two segments are feeling direct pressure from much lower prices in the grocery store. If you're a regular grocery shopper, you're like, what lower prices? Hard to tell when you shop regularly in a supermarket, but actually the prices of items in the grocery store have come down a lot, especially for non-processed foods. The price points are a whole lot better. So suddenly, the quick serves, fast casuals, fast food places are all seeing a big gap between what they're charging people because they're having trouble attracting labor. So the restaurants at all price point restaurants are having to pay workers more to get and keep workers. that labor cost being thrown into the mix has forced menu price increases. If you regularly go out to eat and you have certain places that are your faves, you've likely noticed the increase in prices and the reduction in promotions. Well, it's causing this problem now, and the result is going to be a lot of promotions, a lot of discounting, a lot of couponing. At the high end and mid-price restaurants, there's been a decline in traffic and average ticket. And I've noticed even, we went to a really high-end restaurant for my brother and his wife's anniversary. And when we went there, it was surprising that they had a full-course meal with appetizer, vegetable, entree, dessert, the whole thing, at $39 a person, which is less than what the entree alone usually is. And the high-end restaurants are still getting their expense account crowd, corporations that don't care what anything costs, but people paying for their own food have become more price sensitive. And regardless of where you eat, odds are if you are paying close attention to coupon offers and specials, you're going to get deals. I had received an email from a restaurant talking about specials, and so my wife and I went. We were sitting down. They didn't give us a menu showing those specials. And so I asked the server, did I misunderstand something? Was there not this special menu? And he then went and got that separate menu. He said, oh, it's a separate promotional menu. And he went and got it. And it was substantially cheaper than the regular one. So for any of a number of reasons, you're going to find deals when you eat out through the next several months. You just got to know to look. Brian is with us on the Clank Howard Show. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Clark. How you doing?
Great, thank you. You know, it's so neat when I have someone call me who says, you know, I have just too much money.
Yeah.
I got to come up with something to do with too much money. How did you get to where you have too much money every month?
I don't think, you know, it's just living under your means. And driving vehicles that are, you know, aren't the fancy, you know, BMWs or, you know, things like that. Just watch what we spend.
Poor BMW. Everybody always, when they give an example. No, it's funny because it seems like anytime somebody gives an example, they don't say Mercedes and they don't say Jaguar, they don't say Porsche. They always say BMW. I don't know what that's about on our show.
Fill in the blank, whatever you'd like.
Yeah. So you're careful with your money, which generates an excess. And where did you learn to do that? Was that from a parent or a sibling?
I think it was from my grandmother. She was always real good with money. And just, you know, over the years, she accumulated a lot, and she did very well. So I just think I kind of got that gene from her.
Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
So what has been your strategy to date? What do you do with your surplus?
Well, right now we've just been spreading it around. We've been putting some in savings. We fully fund our Roth IRAs. My wife and I both are Roth IRAs. I put about 10% of my check in my 403B every paycheck.
So are you a teacher?
No, I work at a hospital. So.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And does your wife have some form of retirement plan available to her at work also?
She actually works at home. She has her own business, so that's why we have the 403B lined up for her. Or not the 403B, I'm sorry, the Roth IRA.
All right, so there's something, she can do a double. She can also do a Sept.
Yeah.
Or is she a one-person company?
She is. She's a one-person company.
Right, so she can do a solo 401k.
Mm-hmm.
Something that used to be about impossible to do and now is ultra easy. Okay. And so if you have extra cash you're throwing off every month, it would be great if she looked at doing a solo or self-employed 401k. So that would be a very efficient place to stash cash.
And in your opinion, what do you think about, right now we're financed at a 3.5% interest rate with our mortgage. You know, do we throw money at the mortgage?
No.
Do we invest in stock?
No, you put the money in her solo 401k or in a SEP.
SEP. All of it, huh?
Yeah, I want you to keep building up tax advantage or tax-free money for your future.
Sure.
Do you have any children?
Yes.
Right. Okay, so wait, this is significant. You are max savers and you have children.
Yeah, 3.
See, a lot of people are listening, they think you have 3 kids.
Yes.
Right. Well, you and your wife should be very proud of yourselves. Because a lot of people listening were thinking, oh, well, they don't have kids. They're two income, no kids. But you have 3 kids.
3 daughters, yeah.
All right, and your daughters are how old?
14, 9, and 5.
All right, so that opens up another possibility. After your wife has slapped money into either a Sept or a solo, Sept or a solo 401k.
Mm-hmm.
The other possibility is if your kids are likely to go to college, that you do 529s for the 3 girls.
Okay.
Do you do any college saving right now?
Mm-hmm.
And are you doing that in a 529 for each girl?
No.
Because the advantage of the 529 is whatever earnings those accounts have, and you or your wife own the 529 account, either or can own them.
Mm-hmm.
You name each child as a beneficiary. All the earnings are tax-free when spent on college.
And if they decide not to go to college?
Well, you're not going to go 0 for 3, likely, right?
Well, no. No.
So you can transfer, you can change the beneficiary designation on an account. Let's say you said 14 is the oldest?
Yes.
Let's say the 14-year-old decides, college isn't my thing. You can then move the money later and designate one of the others as the beneficiary of it.
Okay.
And that's totally tax-free to change the beneficiary.
Okay.
So the reason I'm looking at this way is everything I'm talking about either has a current tax advantage or long-term is tax-free.
Sure.
So the fact that you are saving so much money gives you so many choices that it just improves from there, and that's something you should be so proud of. Right now, we're going to turn to our Ask Clarks, which you can post an Ask Clark for me at clarkhoward.com. Joel, who do we have an Ask Clark from?
Clark Rachel wrote in. She said, could you recommend any credible debt consolidation companies?
There's no such. Debt consolidation is something that has harmed so many people. The idea is you take all your various debts, consolidate them into one simple monthly payment. The unfortunate thing is that debt consolidations generally end up being at a higher interest rate than the blend of the debts you already have. So it is not normally something I would advise. If doing a debt consolidation is about feeling overwhelmed by all the checks you have to write each month, reverse the process you normally hear me talk about, which is normally I'll say pay minimums against all your debts, throw every dollar you can at your highest interest rate debt. In this case, you would reverse it, and you pay minimums against all your debts except the smallest one, and pay as much as you can at it till it's gone, and then psychologically, let's say you've gone from 7 debts to 6, and then you'd start with the smallest debt remaining, throw extra money at it, and you go to 5 things you owe money against and all that. Because it is very, very unusual, very rare, that a debt consolidation loan of some kind will end up with an effective lower interest rate than the various debts you have. You have to income qualify and credit score qualify and debt ratio qualify for that new loan. And if you're already sitting there with a lot of debt, you're not going to get a better deal. If, on the other hand, you have more debt than you really can handle, what I want you to do is I want you to go to nfcc.org and go see a true, real nonprofit credit counselor through nfcc.org. Jim joins us on the Clark Howard Show. Hi, Jim.
Hey, how you doing?
Great, thank you. Jim, how can I serve you?
Well, my partner and I own 4 houses, 3 of which we own outright. 4 of which we own outright, and we rent 3 of them. Well, we have some savings in the bank of $155,000 and an E-Trade account of $81,000. And I'm sitting here looking at the bank statements every month, and getting $2-3 in interest is killing me.
Isn't it?
If you had $155,000 cash, what would you do with it?
So I gather by the question and the preamble, you're wondering if I think that you should buy more real estate with it.
Yes.
And I have no problem with that as long as you're diversified and also have a meaningful amount of money invested in index funds, stock-type choices, retirement accounts. Do you have anything on that side of the ledger, or is this what we're talking about? You got all this cash and then the 4 homes you own free and clear.
Well, we have 140 in retirement, and E-Trade is stocks, about 81,000.
Okay, all right. And how old are each of you?
45.
Right, 140 grand's not enough. I need for you. Do you have any kind of plan where you're putting in money? Do either of you have access to a 401k at work?
We have old ones that we're sitting on, which total the 140, but no, not currently.
Okay. I got to get you saving for retirement because you can't eat the houses. And yes, the 3 houses that are investment properties can throw off cash for you, and they are the classic get-rich-slowly plan. And they can be a nice, almost like a no-cost annuity in retirement that they throw off money every month. But you need to diversify more and have some, you hear me talk on the show a lot about Roth IRAs?
Yes, I have.
You absolutely need to get going with the Roth thing because it gives you the opportunity where owning those real estate properties is tax advantaged. Owning the Roth is tax-free money. And over time, just as you make money by owning the homes, you make money by owning little pieces of corporate America and capitalism around the world.
Gotcha.
So if you were to take some of the cash you have now, because you're capped at $5,500 a year into each of your Roths anyway, so that's not going to soak up much of this $155,000. If you want to buy another investment property, go right ahead. And you're not going to get the rock bottom values that were there, during the real estate bust, but there are still deals to be had out there on real estate, especially for buy and hold. Is that your intention with the 4 you already have is buy and hold?
Yeah, well, with those, yes. But this one, any new one, I would have considered trying to flip it.
Flipping is tough unless you buy a property that's really beat up, an unloved kind of beat up place, and you can do the repair work and renovation required yourself. If you have to hire contractors, you can't make the math work on trying to flip properties. But buying another place that you just add to your portfolio and you rent out, I love that. And you're comfortable with that. I mean, it's what you've been doing is having these properties. You have tenants in 3 of them?
3 of them, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a concept you're comfortable with and feel good about. And so throwing in one more and going to 4 rental properties, great. But on the other side, please think about what I've said about getting more money on a cumulative basis year by year into Roth IRAs so that you got the investment side where you just watch the money hopefully grow taken care of.
You know, there's something about TrueCar that a lot of people don't even know. Here it is. Using TrueCar can also help you buy a used car. That's right. In fact, there are over 500,000 pre-owned vehicles available from TrueCar's certified dealers nationwide. So whether you're looking to buy a brand new car or a used car, you can get all the upfront pricing information that empowers you. You can also get discounts off the list price for used cars and a totally better buying experience through the TrueCar certified dealer network. That's where you'll see what other people paid for the car that you want, so you know you're getting a fair price and you can feel confident. And with TrueCar, you connect with a local certified dealer of your choice, so you can enjoy a quick, easy buying experience. You can use the TrueCar website or the TrueCar app, so it's easy to find the new or used car that you want. You just take your guaranteed savings certificate to a TrueCar certified dealer, and you'll save money on that used car. And if you're buying new, the average TrueCar user saves $3,279 off MSRP. Over 2 million people have already bought their cars through the TrueCar certified dealer network. So if you're ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar.com or take it with you by downloading the TrueCar app and enjoy a better car buying experience. Some features are not available in all states.
I'm so glad you're with us on the Clank Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to save more and spend less. And don't let anybody ever rip you off. I need to talk about the year's biggest ripoff in just seconds. Coming up in a half hour, the second in our series for Labor Day, how to negotiate a better pay rate and better benefits with your employer. Our web address, clark.com. When you have a question for me, clark.com/ask. I need to talk about the absolute number one scam that we're hearing about from you, and it's been going on for months.
Rip-off alert, rip-off alert. This is a Clank Howard rip-off alert.
Never in my history, over 29 years, has there been something like what's going on now, where almost 1 in 10 questions that people are posting on Clark.com involve the IRS. But not, I have a problem with the IRS, what should I do? No, it's about all these scams that are going on involving people posing as people working for the IRS. The IRS, right on its front page, has several different warnings about scams that pop up right away. In fact, they have a special section right on the home page, phishing and tax scams. And man, are there a lot of them. I need to make sure that you are completely in the loop on this so you do not get taken. My wife got a call on her cell phone, a voicemail from a very authoritative voice talking about her debt to the IRS and that she needed to call immediately to resolve this. And it was just typical of what shows up on our home voicemail. And what people get calls about day after day after day, either from a live voice calling, demanding payment right now, or the voicemail trying to get you to call back in. It could also be an email. The IRS is talking about an email coming in right now that when you click on it, what it actually does is it loads a malware thing on your computer. And, I mean, it's just so many layers to this IRS thing. So here's what you need to know. The IRS does not email you. The IRS will not call you demanding immediate payment. The IRS will not call you and tell you you are about to be arrested for non-payment of a bill. The IRS will not ask you to go to Walmart or demand you go to Walmart and buy a green dot card and give them the code on it to pay your tax bill before you go to jail. Any of those things. So when you get a phone call from a live person claiming they're from the IRS, say, have a great day, and hang up. If there's a voicemail for you claiming to be from the IRS, then you need to call them right now about your overdue tax bill. Erase that voicemail. Do not call. Make sure your family knows. Make sure your relatives know. And the crooks are targeting young people, old people, in-between people. Why are they doing it? Because it works. People are so tweaked by the IRS that when somebody calls pretending to be from the IRS, people pay money and then later think, who did I pay money to? Don't get caught up in that web of deceit. Do not let anyone intimidate you into giving up your hard-earned money. Follow me at facebook.com/Clark Howard. Our web address, clark.com. When you got a question for me, go clark.com/ask. Brian is with us. Brian, you got sick on a cruise. Tell me without naming any names. What's the story?
Well, it was a 7-day Alaskan cruise. It was for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. And,
on their 50th wedding anniversary, your parents were sick?
No. Me and my son got sick.
Okay. So I know this is going to sound horrible for me to say, but I just felt relief that it wasn't them who were sick on the cruise.
Well, I'm glad it was just me and my son, but he was 3, so...
is he okay?
Oh, yeah, we're fine.
Okay.
I would like to think that it was just food poisoning because we both got sick within an hour of eating dinner on the second night of the cruise. I don't think it was seasickness because I know what that is, and that's not what we had. But basically, we got sick. I vomited. I didn't think anything of it because immediately I felt better. But my son, who came back and fell asleep in the room, he woke up within an hour of me, and he said, "Daddy, I'm sick." So I took him in the bathroom, and he vomited. So I called to report it, just to be safe, And they basically said, it's policy, we have to send a nurse to your room to check you out. So I understood that. They sent a nurse to the room. All he did was take our temperature, which we both did not have a fever. He did nothing for my son. He gave me a C6 pill and a box of Gatorade powder and a $68 bill, which they agreed to remove off of my charges because I didn't call them. He said it was policy, he had to come. But basically they assume in the cruise ship industry, gastrointestinal virus is a big thing.
They're immediately worried, do you have noro?
Right.
Yeah.
So they did not give me any tests to confirm or deny if I had it. They just assumed that we did. And they said you have to be in your room for a 24-hour quarantine period, which I understood, and me and my son both abided by it. We stayed in our room for 24 hours. As such, we missed out on the Juneau, Alaska port, which I was looking forward to, but I understood. My problem is I got a letter, and I'm sure it's a form letter from the captain, that said, we're sorry you and your son fell ill on our voyage. We would like to compensate you for every 24-hour period you and your son were in quarantine on a future cruise. And I tried to explain to him that... what were they going to do? What's the compensation? Basically, what we paid for this cruise, for me and my wife, it was $1,100 apiece. And for the third and fourth people in our cabin, which is my 2 children, it was $600 apiece. So they basically... That's $1,100 for me, $600 for my son. If you add that at $1,700 divided by 7 days, that's what they were going to compensate. $170 bucks? It was closer to $250. Okay, all right. So you're wondering what is it you think that the cruise line should give you because you protected your fellow passengers by essentially ratting yourselves out, and then the cruise line, trying to be extra cautious,
locked you up for 24 hours under house arrest.
I don't want the listeners to think there was an armed guard outside my door.
I understand.
That's not how it was.
It was an honor system. So
it was.
What do you think is fair?
Well, I would just like what I paid for. I tried to explain this to them, that I'm not asking for a free cruise. I'm not asking for anything like that. I just want what I paid for, which was, if you take, the $3,500 that I paid for my family of four to go on this cruise, I'm just asking for everything that we paid for, since we only received a 6-day cruise, but we
they
paid
give
for
you
a
back
7-day cruise. I just wanted a refund of that day, that 1 day's, what they call it, the per diem.
I think that if all you're asking for is 1/7 of your cruise fare back, the cruise line is really dumb to not do it, because the reality is you can start posting on cruise message boards. If you report you're not feeling well, if you report you're nauseous, they're going to take away part of your cruise and not compensate you for it. That is a message the cruise industry does not need out there.
Clark, let me tell you, and this is the honest truth. When I was talking to the guest relations manager, I told her, I said, how would you feel, if you went to a place and received a bad customer service experience, but all of your friends and family knew you were there, and when you got back, they asked you about it? Would you want to tell them only the good parts, or is the thing that's going to stick out in your mind the bad part? And she told me, well, Mr. Brian, that sounds like a threat. And I said, wait a minute, it's not a threat. It's called word-of-mouth advertisement. I don't think I got what I paid for, and I'm not asking for any ridiculous compensation.
Asking for 1/7 of your fare back is a very reasonable thing, and the cruise line should be happy to write you that check because you played by the rules they would like. And anytime there's a spread of norovirus on a cruise ship, think about how all the TV channels are, putting that on TV, people's video they shoot and all that. It's really short-sighted and dumb of this cruise line, which is actually owned by a cruise line that's had a lot of negative publicity. They're nuts not to take up what is a very reasonable offer on your part.
Right.
So I think I don't have any problem at all with what you're asking for. And I would, do you do Facebook or Twitter or any of that stuff?
Yeah, I do Facebook.
Yeah, I think you start posting about it on Facebook and let the word spread that, you're going to be punished for doing the right thing. The cruise line needs to do the right thing too. The cruise industry has such a black eye that is still in so many people's minds. If you did the right thing to try to prevent the spread of illness on the ship, the cruise line needs to do the right thing and write a check. To say you get a partial credit against a future cruise, that's an insult. Sarah is with us on the Clank Howard Show. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
Good, thank you. How can I be of service to you, Sarah?
Okay, well, just a little bit of information. I'm an incoming college student, and recently I came up with my own idea for technology, and, well, I'm trying to get a patent on it. They said that they would, help me with the steps of everything, such as getting a patent and then getting me a license to sell.
And what is it that they wanted from you in order to help you do that?
Well, I would have to pay $1,295.
$1,295?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you pay that $1,300?
Not yet.
Okay.
Stopped because we were trying to find another alternative and to see what was going to be better for this whole plan.
All right. So you thought I could help?
Yes,
I'm ready to help. You ready?
Yes.
All right. You got pen and paper?
1 second. I can write it all down on my pad.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, so I say pen and paper and you want to write it on a tablet. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I'm so old school. All right. So Nolo.com, Nolo.com.
Okay.
Has an online guide that you can consult and has forms that are available to help you. And you will not need one of these outside servicing bureaus.
Okay.
You can do this, at least the basics of it, yourself.
I can. Okay.
And you'll need the technology idea you'll need often some kind of prototype of it.
Okay.
And you'll learn about the various guidelines and the steps you'll need to take at nolo.com. Now, my experience has been with the companies that offer to help you is that it's very common they'll ask you for the amount of money you were asked for, $1,300, is more than what I usually hear. Usually it'd be $600-700, and then later you'll be asked for far more money. Right. So I would prefer for you to go the self-serve route.
To self?
Yeah, to do it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you start at nolo.com, I think you'll get what you need to do to really get going. Now, let me say something else to you. If you have an idea that's really, really exciting in the technology field, people are begging for people to come to them with ideas that they want to be part of funding because they want to be part of the action to make money. And there are lots of things you need to look at doing in addition to working on getting your idea patented. I want you to start there, but then I want you to start thinking about writing a business plan for what the business model is for your idea. You know, what it would cost to develop it, what it would be the likely retail price for it, or however it would be sold in price. Because if you have something that's a real breakthrough kind of thing, today people are getting paid for the ideas they develop in ways that no one has ever been paid, as best I can recall, any time in my lifetime. So there is opportunity for you. If you've got the right concept, the right idea, you just gotta see it. Have you ever watched the show that's very popular called Shark Tank?
Yes.
And has that been part of the inspiration for you to go take your idea and run with it?
Yes.
Okay. So you see how they pepper people with questions that are trying to get money, right?
Right.
So I want you to think through, I want you to watch that show, think through, what are investors looking for? What are they looking at? And I want you to think about, am I able to answer those questions yet? Am I able to pass the kind of scrutiny that would be required? Because just getting something patented is, although that's wonderful, it's not enough. You've got to be your own best advocate for bringing your idea to life. And Sarah, I want to hear someday that you had a big number with a great idea.
Stay tuned for 60 seconds of AP News headlines right after this podcast.
I'm so glad you're with us on the Clank Howard Show, where it's about you learning ways to keep more of what you make. But what about making more money? We're going to talk about that, the second in our series in honor of Labor Day, ways that you as an employee, well, have the marketplace working for you right now. And I think about how people were trying to hold on to jobs as hard as they could when unemployment rates were so high in the U.S. and it was just a tough time on the job front. Now things have rotated, and you, the employee, are driving this thing. You are the one who gets to make the call. And now there are articles appearing around like this one that was from Business Insider, negotiating tricks to help you boost your salary. So this is absolutely so interesting that we should talk about something that have been studies about how you negotiate the actual pay rate itself. Now, by the way, this is a trick also from real estate. When you're making a counter offer, you don't make a counteroffer in a flat number. You make a counter offer in like a very oddball thing. I remember negotiating a house once with a corporate relo company, and they were stuck with a house they couldn't get rid of. So you know who was there to buy their trouble. That was me. And we were going back and forth, and it got to be a pretty contentious negotiation. And they came back with a price that ended $552.24. And I was just laughing. How do you come up with that? Because it was blah, 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 $552.24. And what they were doing was they were doing a negotiating technique that made it seem in a negotiation like they had a specific business reason that was the price that they had to hit. Well, people do that now if they're savvy with salary, where if you're in a back and forth, you want to do an oddball amount, according to the Columbia Business School research, that when you give a very precise number, not as weird as that, but let's say $64,500 instead of $65 or $60 or whatever, or wherever you are in the salary chain, that it should be something not that's being obnoxious, but that's like, so I wonder why they came up with that. And this works, by the way, from the employer side and the employee side, or if you are a prospect. And speaking of being a prospect, you know, employers want you to hit them with a figure. They say, so what would you like to make if we were to offer you a job? And they want you to name something. They want to hope that you name a number that is less than they were anticipating having to pay to fill that vacancy. So the way you deal with that is you don't hit that single number. You give a range. I would like to make between $38,000 and $52,000, or whatever it is, wherever you are on the pay scale, rather than saying I'd like to make $40,000 a year, or again, wherever you are on the scale. And there are other things that you want to consider as you are negotiating, but you want to be clear that it's not just about you. I think this is very important. This is not from that story. I find that when I have interviewed, over the years I've interviewed, in the thousands of people for jobs. And one thing that has stood out to me, and everybody who's done a lot of hiring over the years or interviewing over the years will have their thing that they think about. For me, it's when the individual comes in not really aware or knowledgeable about the company that they're coming to interview with and knows nothing about the history, no interest in it. It's all about me, 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 me. That does not endear you, because what that potential employer wants to hear is, what are your goals for yourself, and how does that fit into that company? So there are a lot of techniques people recommend as you're looking for a job, but what I want to hear is I want to hear that you actually care about the company that you're interviewing at. Daniel is with us on the Clank Howard Show. Hello, Daniel.
Hi, Clark. How are you?
Great, thank you. Daniel, you want to talk about buying life insurance?
I do. Well, I was very surprised when I noticed that a warehouse club that's all loyal Team Clark listeners love was offering universal life insurance policy, which is usually in your never, 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 not ever category. And I had to call in to make sure your head hadn't exploded and to see what your take on this was. Never, 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 not ever. Universal life insurance in all its flavors, in my opinion, is trash. And even if a warehouse club has a premium that would be more favorable as a members only kind of thing,
I would still say it's trash at a discount.
Oh. One of your girlfriends is offering trash at a discount. Clark.
Sorry? What did you say?
One of your girlfriends is offering trash at a discount.
Well, that's
terrible.
Okay. That's okay. So the thing is with both Costco and Sam's, they're selling a wide variety of services, particularly to attract and get more loyalty from their business members. And so that's why you see them offering payroll processing in some cases and credit card processing and any of a number of things, business checks, a suite of technology services, phone systems, all that. And so if they're selling to an entrepreneurial market and they're selling to business people, then having insurance is a big, important thing for them to have. But Universal Life is a common product in the marketplace, and it's just a bad product in the marketplace. And I don't recommend it because it blows up way too often on people.
I see. Well, good to know.
And are you in a position where you make a massive amount of money?
No, I don't.
Because I was going to say, if you make a extremely high salary, there are good arguments to be made for you having whole life insurance.
Yes.
Which is a predictable stream of payments with a fairly predictable benefit that comes your way over time. But Universal Life just has so many unknown variables to it and can end up being both a tax liability for you and ultimately the policy can basically eat itself up and you end up with no insurance and no investment.
Yes, well, when I looked closer, this particular product seemed to be kind of more of a term life insurance with some enhancements, so perhaps not as bad as the typical universal life policies, but perhaps better just to stick with straight term. Straight term
and invest in traditional investment vehicles that you hear me talk about that the tax code smiles upon, which are retirement plans at work and your own independent retirement plans, unless you're self-employed.
Yes.
Are you self-employed?
I actually, being a lifelong personal finance nerd and early saver, I actually retired early in my 30s, so I'm currently retired.
Wait. You buried the most important thing here. How old were you when you retired?
I was 35.
35. All right, so this is what we need to be talking about.
Oh, well.
Share with your fellow listener how you retired at 35.
Well, initially I was an English major in college and decided I didn't want to be broke my entire life, so I went into finance and lived frugally and saved half of my paycheck for about 13 or 14 years, and that was enough to do the trick.
And by the way, I've talked about that any max saver, that the key criteria to be a max saver is that you live on every other paycheck.
Yeah.
And that if you look at the simple math, that living on half of your pay makes it all possible to do just what you've done, but you did it a little earlier than most people would, which is some point in their 40s. So good for you, Daniel. Joel joins us on the Clank Howard Show. Hello, Joel.
Clark.
How's it going?
What an honor.
Well, it's great to have you here.
Hi. What I was calling about was I wanted to get your opinion on some of the no-name phones that are available out there with all the new bring your own phone plans. The unlocked phones that would work for these, whether it's ones on eBay that come from Asia or phones that would preferably work on 4G and a 3G.
How cheap do you want to be?
Oh, maybe middle of the road. Not a $29 phone from one of the pay-as-you-goes, but Not
50 or 60? Is that 50 or 60 too much?
Well, it depends on. I guess my thing is the performance of the phone.
All right, so let's talk performance.
Deal.
My oldest brother did the Amazon Prime deal on the Moto G4, which is $149. There's a fancier version of it that's $179 that is available to anyone who's Amazon Prime. Are you an Amazon Prime member?
Yes, I am.
So the Moto G4 is a 5.5-inch screen. It works on any network in the United States. Fully compatible. Is $149, $179, is that too pricey?
No. And another reason why I'm asking is my wife is actually from Brazil, and when we go on trips there, we like to take gifts, and they really just love the gifts of things that are extremely expensive to buy in country if they were to have to purchase it there, whereas we can bring things in, at a great deal here in America.
Well, because the Moto G4 runs on so many different frequencies and is GSM compatible, it should work fine in Brazil. And in addition, the most popular brand in South America is one that people don't know much about in this country called Blue, BLU, from Miami. And they have a wide variety of phones that people, when they come to the U.S. from Brazil, they run and they go buy Blue phones to take back with them. And Amazon is selling a Blue phone on the Amazon Prime deal for $49. Go look. If you sign into your Prime account and then go all the way to the left under cell phones, you'll see Amazon Prime exclusives. Click on it, and you'll see the deals they're offering. It's the best deal I know going right now on really affordable, full-featured phones. Blake is with us on the Clark Howard Show. Hello, Blake.
Hey, Clark. How are y'all today?
Great, thank you, Blake. You own your own business?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. It's been my dream my whole life since I was a kid to own my own truck and own a trucking business. And, that's what I've always wanted to do. And now that I'm here, it's a dream come true, I guess.
Well, great. Well, how can I be of help to you?
My uncle and I, we're in business together. I have my truck. He has his. We are relatively low debt in this business. I owe about $21,000 on my truck and trailer. He owes right about the same on his trailer. I only have a year left on my loan, so we're almost, as far as things go, we're about out of debt with our business. I've only been in it for a year, a little over a year. He's been in it for 16.
Wow.
A friend of mine loves to venture into other businesses, and he wants to see his money grow somewhere else other than in the stock market. He come to me the other day, I approached us, he said, hey, I would like to help you grow your business. I'm willing to, up front, give you $100,000 to start with, and we can grow as much as needed. I'll cover all expenses to grow the company, the tags, fuel, paying drivers, but I want a piece of the pie. And originally he wanted half the profit. And that's kind of where I'm lost, because I don't know what's too much, what's not enough.
So your business right now is the two of you out driving as independent truckers?
That is correct.
And
right now together we do a little over $300,000 together.
And so you have run a very simple operation. You got the two of you, no other truckers working as employees.
Correct.
He wants to come in. He wants to amp up the business, buy in, have other people come in as truckers that will be employees instead of owners.
Correct. Employees. We will have employees. And I would originally start as my uncle rolls his truck into the company, and he's paid by the company to run the business. I still keep my truck. I run it as I see fit, help as needed, and once we're grown to the point, then I will get out of the truck and I'll start helping it around.
I'm going to give you my initial gut reaction. Don't do this deal You and your uncle have a business that's working for you. You're getting close to being debt-free. You start bringing employees into a trucking operation, you are bringing headaches into your life.
Yes, sir.
Turnovers over 50% a year, among drivers, and you're taking on enormous responsibility that you don't have now.
That's correct.
I wouldn't do it.
All right.
You've got a situation that you understand how it operates. It's simple the way it is now. You're layering on headaches.
Oh yeah, large. Because he wants to pretty much grow at a rate that I've never heard of. But he wants 40 trucks in 5 years.
Don't do it. Don't do it. He may be there with the money looking for something else to do. You're not the one he should do it with. You and your uncle keep doing exactly what you're doing.
Thanks for listening to the Clark Howard Podcast. Download new episodes every Monday through Friday at podcastone.com. That's podcastone.com. Stay tuned for the latest AP News headlines from Podcast One right after this. When shopping for car insurance, consider this. Geico has been saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years. So if you're serious about savings, it's simple. Go to geico.com. After 75 years, they know how to save you money.
AP Update. I'm Sandy Kozel. Now would be the time for Floridians to get out of possible harm's way. With Hurricane Hermine approaching the northwest part of the state, Governor Rick Scott.
Follow evacuation orders. It can save your life. Remember, we cannot rescue you during a storm.
Scott has 6,000 National Guardsmen ready to mobilize after the storm passes. The governors of Georgia and North Carolina have declared states of emergency. Hermine is already sending heavy squalls with its outer bands over Gulf Coast beaches. Some 9,200 power outages have been reported this evening on an outage map covering Tallahassee. Joe Allen is expecting to feel the hurricane on Cedar Key.
We'll get water. We'll get a tidal surge. Unfortunately, it's going to happen during high tide. So we're definitely going to get that.
Hermine is in the Gulf of Mexico, centered about 40 miles southeast of Apalachicola. AP Update. I'm Sandy Kozel.